Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this webinar all about the winning mix and how you can build essentially a great team. And a great team requires the right mix of what are known as minders, grinders, finders, and a term we've added to that model of reminders. If you've not met me before, I'm Michael Carter, widely known as MC, Director of Practice Paradox. So let's get into it. I'd like to start with a belief that I have and that you may well share. I believe that in your role as an accountant and an advisor to people about something pretty important in their life, which is their finances, their financial prosperity, that there is in fact a moral obligation to advise them and to not just do what they ask, because let's face it, a lot of your clients don't know what they don't know about your value-added services. So how can they ask about services that they're really not aware about or don't understand? So the picture there of the scales is, picture your clients when they give you the information required to do, let's say, the end of year financials and tax lodgements. They are effectively disrobing right in front of you. Now, depending on the client, that might not be a good word picture. But the point is that they are actually disclosing a very high level of sensitive information that no one else in society has that privilege. And I believe with that privilege comes a responsibility and what I call a moral obligation. Now, if you think that's a little over the top, some people have said, MC, moral obligation. What do you mean? What about professional obligation? Well, as far as I feel, as I'm concerned, it is a moral obligation. Why let your clients who might not have their finances in order, might not have asset protection in place, good systems for managing their money, a plan for their wealth, don't let them potter along in life if, with the skills that you already have, you can help them to a better life. So that's a large part of what drives us at Paradox. But here's the catch. As far as your value-added advisory services that are non-compliance, by their very definition, they need to be sold because they're not necessary, are they? As far as the government doesn't make anyone do them. So if they're optional and need to be sold, we all, as advisors, need to learn how to sell. And for many, that's a dirty word. But thankfully, there's enough progressive accountants and advisors in the profession that can embrace really, that's what we're all about, is selling of ideas and courses of action to clients. So today, we're going to look at what is a great team anyway, and specifically for your context, what's your ideal team? Where are the gaps between where your team is now and what your ideal team would be? I'll describe what we mean by the winning mix, and it's a very pragmatic, sort of measurable approach. Everything we do at Paradox is that way inclined. And how do you go about achieving it, and what will that actually mean for you as an advisor? Now, you'll be able to get your hands on this worksheet. We'll move at a really rapid pace today. If I was doing this as a workshop in your practice or at a conference, I presented some of this content today at last XeroCon, we'd run through this. But to get your hands on this worksheet after today, you can do it now if you like. Email me at mc@practiceparadox.com.au and I'll send you a PDF that has it in here. But today we'll run through and show you how you can plot your team's essentially personality profiles or their communication styles on this worksheet and look at the balance or not that you might have. So let's start off with a poll. The challenges that you're experiencing in building a great team. So I have my webinar co-pilot make that poll go live now, and this is where you actually participate. So grab the mouse and click on one of those. Is it attracting enough job candidates, or attracting high quality candidates, retaining quality team members, getting the team to perform well, or you're in a position where you have none of those challenges? And actually I can see you can pick more than one. So click all of the ones that apply to you. And what we'll do is we'll keep that poll going until over 80% of you have voted. And thanks everyone for joining us. It's quite an international lineup today in terms of your peers that are with you. There's people from Australia, New Zealand, UK, Netherlands with us today. Some are in some pretty crazy times of day right now. Okay, so we're still waiting for a few of you to vote. If you're in a group situation, this might be a test of assertiveness within the group. Who's going to do the voting? Okay. Now we might just close that poll off now. Thank you to those who participated, and we'll have a look at the results. So let's see, looking over at my other screen here, 75% of you experience the challenge of getting the team to perform well. A quarter of you attracting high quality candidates, 8% of you retaining them, and 8% of you don't have any of those challenges. So maybe next month's webinar we get you to present. But no, look, that's terrific if you do have a balanced team. It's a little bit like a garden in that if you're building a garden, you're maintaining a garden, it's never done. There are patches when it's great, and there are times when there's a few weeds and a bit of maintenance is required. So today we're going to address some of that. But before we do, grab a pen or a keyboard or your iPad and write down in a sentence or two, why should someone join your firm? Do that now. Why should someone join your firm? If you're wanting to attract high quality candidates, what is the product in your firm that they would be buying by coming on board? Now, if you found that easy, terrific. If you found that difficult, didn't know where to start, that's an opportunity for improvement, because until you have clarity on what it is your firm stands for and how you want to be perceived in the marketplace in terms of available team members, you're not going to be able to attract your ideal team members. So I'll share with you now a little sort of flow chart that we brainstormed this in here at Paradox, and we thought through what are the actual steps involved in having a great team, and there's a fairly logical flow to it. I'll just step you through this one by one. Now, if you want to achieve the winning mix of people, which I will explain in more detail later, upstream from that, you've got to think, well, what is the winning mix of people? So what is your ideal service mix? We're a big proponent of the phrase, succeed by doing less. So in other words, don't try to be all things to all people. Be very clear on who you're targeting. And if you accept anyone who walks through the door, you're likely to be destined for a career and a lifetime of mediocrity in terms of what your firm does. So you need to think, what is your ideal service mix? If you could wave a magic wand, whether we're talking compliance and non-compliance, what's the perfect mix of services you'd like to provide? Because that dictates what is your ideal mix of people, doesn't it? And upstream from that is, who are you targeting? We had someone talk to us this week who'd been in a sort of a support coaching consulting group for a number of years, and they came to us because they wanted help around strategy. And I said to them, okay, so who's your target market? She said, we're not actually very clear on that. And I said, okay, so for 3 years you've been getting coaching and support about how to improve your firm, and you haven't clearly defined your target market. And the answer was no. I said, what have been the side effects of that? She said, we've got too many clients and they're too low in value on average. So in the Academy, our online Modern Marketing Academy for Accountants, Module 1 out of 10 modules is called Your Radar, and getting you crystal clear on who are you targeting. All of your communication to the marketplace in terms of attracting clients and in attracting good quality or ideal team members does actually stem from who are you targeting. Upstream from that is your why. In Module 1, we give an insight into, some of you may have read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And he talks about people buy why you do what you do before they buy what you do or even how you do it. And people these days are attracted, or a buzzword I suppose is resonate. You know, they feel connected to people who have and share the same values as them. So in terms of who you're targeting, your ideal service mix, and the ideal people in your team, it actually does all stem from what is your why? What is your reason for being? What's the dent you want to put in the universe, as Steve Jobs used to say? Now, downstream from what is your winning mix of people that you'll get clarity on today, where are the gaps in your current team? Know thyself, know your team. If you know where the gaps are, you can address them. And then you fill the gaps with targeted recruiting. There's a tendency, let's say a firm starts out as a sole practitioner where, you know, they leave a larger firm, start out on their own. There's a tendency, and for good reasons, in the early days to hire grinders. Now, grinders are people that are analytical, highly analytical, and clearly good with numbers, good at accounting. And that's great because it frees up capacity in the principals. Terrific. But then as the firm grows and evolves, principals and directors of firms can get frustrated when they realize no one's really caring for the clients very well in terms of communication, thinking ahead, and no one's really getting out there and finding new clients. So they're called minders and finders as opposed to grinders. So if you find that you have an imbalance in your team, you can then very clearly and strategically, with focus, recruit people to balance your team out. Now here's a big tip. We've got an ebook that is called True Advisors. The subtitle is Why Being a Trusted Advisor is Nowhere Near Enough. Now David Maister, who I fully respect, of course, who's authored Managing the Professional Services Firm, The Trusted Advisor, Strategy and the Fat Smoker, one of his most recent books, he popularized, he didn't coin the term, but he popularized the term the trusted advisor. And all of the studies of business owners and consumers, accountants are always at the top of the list in society for who is the most trusted person to go to for advice around your finances. The thing is, being trusted is great, but people don't buy from those that they trust. They buy from those that they know, like, and trust. You need to tick all three of those boxes. Now, True Advisors, which is our reframe on trusted advisors, ticks all of those boxes and is actually on the front foot giving advice looking ahead. Now, in terms of training all advisors in how to sell, now not in any sort of hard sell or not even any sort of formulaic way. I've been an observer and participant in the accounting profession for the best part of 20 years now, and I'm always amused when there's some sort of checklist. It's a cross-selling checklist, needs review checklist that is, or piece of software even, that is put out there as, look, give this to your team, and if they follow that, they'll be able to sell. What we teach, even though we describe ourselves as, because we are specialists in marketing and selling for accounting firms, our core competency beneath that is bringing about change. We're actually change management people. So if you don't change how your team operates, their actual day-to-day behavior, nothing will change in the experience that your clients have of your firm, will they? You've got to change what you do. It can't just all happen up here. So one of the change management models that we focus on is addressing mindset, skills, and systems, all three of those. So mindset, how you think, your views, values, beliefs. Skills, soft skills. There was a great update I saw on LinkedIn today by Rick Telberg from CPA Trendlines in the States. He's one of the most influential people on the planet with the accounting profession. He's worth following in your LinkedIn, Rick Telberg. And there was a study, and there have been many of them, that find that the training around soft skills is really underdone and neglected. And our studies, we've actually had, it's just under 900 firms complete a survey for us around their rainmaking or marketing and selling skills and training. 3/4 of the profession have never been formally trained in how to sell. And if you're still getting a shiver up your spine when I say sell, just selling is helping. Selling is influencing your clients to make decisions through your help to improve their life. That's all it is. So you do need to actively and formally train your advisors in how to sell. And in our academy, the Modern Marketing Academy, just to put it in context, the first 5 modules are on marketing. So that includes everything from social media, online marketing, digital, how to build a conveyor belt to generate leads, quite literally while you sleep. But the next 4 modules are on how to sell. And there is a process and a set of soft skills around that. Now, what's the point of all that? We're a big believer that if you want to be proactive, in and of itself, proactive is too general. It's not specific enough. What does that mean? How do you measure that? That's why we coined the phrase client share. You'd be fully aware that market share means what slice of the market do you have in terms of how many clients or client groups in your catchment area do you have. But what is your client share, which is a measure, very objective measure of how many services are you providing per client group per annum. And because what you can measure, you can manage. We all know that from Management 101. One of the things that I love in terms of the way the brain is a focus machine, we all get what we focus on, whether it's positive or negative, you will attract more of that into your life. What you measure improves. If you want to lose weight, start weighing yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror each day. Even before reading any books or changing the way you eat, you'll just start to make better decisions around what you put in your mouth each day or how active you are, if you are measuring and caring. So if you care about being proactive, you need to measure your client share. In the Academy, we give you a client share matrix to measure it, and we also talk about ways that you can customize your practice management or CRM software to measure and track and monitor your client share. The benefit of having a high client share firm is you can actually build a lifestyle business and have fewer clients of higher value because, let's face it, each relationship is an overhead in terms of having to communicate, sometimes deal with emotional issues around that. So if you could have fewer clients with more revenue, I think we'd all take it. So you can have a more profitable and better cash flow business for sure, and that's great. No point being in a business that isn't profitable and highly liquid. But really, we love the flow-on effect that you can change your clients' lives, and it bonds them to you for life if you are helping them have a better life and school their kids how they want, have choices over, not just education, but healthcare, travel. It's good for everyone. It puts a smile on your face and greater satisfaction as an advisor. And ultimately, if you're an equity holder in your firm or an aspiring equity holder in your firm, you have a far better lifestyle. Life's short. Let's design our lives and our businesses so that it's exactly how we want it. So, to attract the winning mix of team members, you need to be the firm that attracts great people. Now, as a principal in the firm, you need to be the person in terms of walking your talk and feeding your mind and growing and learning and exuding confidence and execution, getting things done, that attracts the right people. No point being a vanilla generalist firm. You need to be a remarkable firm. And there's a science and a process to being remarkable. And that's a large part of what Module 1 in the Academy is about. And you've got to be clear on your why. When you're clear on your why, you'll be able to make decisions more easily in guiding your business. And ultimately be clear on your strategy. Starting paradox, one of the things that I noticed is most of the coaches and consultants, and this is not to disparage anyone, they're practice management consultants, and practice management's important, like what's your write-off policy and how do you manage your workflow and billing and HR and IT. It's all good and it's all important, but that's kind of like dealing with the deck chairs on the Titanic potentially. Strategy is where you're steering the ship. That's why we start there. As far as we know, we're the only people teaching accounting firms proper strategy. I have an MBA in entrepreneurship and innovation, as well as background in marketing, advertising, and also industrial design. I've got a few feathers to my cap over the years, which I bring to bear by teaching accounting firms things that are commonplace and best practice in commerce, but are commonly not done in professional services firms, particularly accounting firms. So ask yourself, do you think right now your firm is advisor rich or grinder heavy? Well, let's find out and actually explore a little bit more what that means. Picture this. The accounting and bookkeeping professions, in general, we believe keep hiring the wrong people. Let's say there's a 15, 16-year-old person, and he or she goes into the career guidance counsellor at their school and says, look, I'm not really sure what I should do at university. What do you think? Puts them through some profiling and says to them on the next meeting, okay, look, I've had a look at your profile and how your brain's wired, and and when we talk, I get a real sense that you're present, you're a great communicator, I feel a real warmth with you. You just really seem like a people person. You know what? I think you should do accounting. Now, that's not to disparage or be sarcastic at all. The complete opposite is what happens, isn't it? It's, oh, you're good at maths, you're good at numbers, you're very analytical, you should be an accountant. Now, those skills are required, but in and of themselves will not create an advisor. At best, will create a technical advisor. Now, this is a fact. If you only ever do what clients ask for, you're one of these. You are a human vending machine where your clients each year or quarter come up, put their coins in, and they say, I'll have year-end work done, thank you very much. I'll have my BAS done. They put their money in, you split the work out, and you move on to the next one. Now, there's a good business model in that in terms of recurring work, and if you do it efficiently with good systems and workflow, you make a good margin on that. But really, you're just a human vending machine, and there is more to life as an advisor. I firmly believe, and if anyone from the Institute or CPA or IPA is on this webinar, I think the profession does a really bad job of selling itself. Even the TV ads, and the main messages reinforce that it's all about numbers. Well, it's part of it, isn't it? So let's look at what advise actually means, straight out of the dictionary. It's a verb. A lot of people call them advisors, but they're not doing too much of the action of the verb. And it's about suggestions around the best course of action. Other attributes of advising is making recommendations, it's about informing someone, and it's done in a formal or official way. That's why process and structure is really important in selling. If you think you sell and you make off-the-cuff ad hoc suggestions to clients that they should do certain protection measures or proactive work with their finances and they don't do it, and you're not following a formal or official way, well, that'll be a big part of it. I like the fact that the root of the word, a part of it means to see. So to have a vision for where your client's life can head and helping them get there. And to consider jointly. Persuasion. See, old-fashioned selling techniques are about persuasion, and if you're ever persuaded, you consciously are aware of that. You know, if you ever buy something, walk out and you felt, I bought it, but I've kind of, he talked me into that, she talked me into that. That's at a mid-level. We teach the art and science of influence, which is when people make decisions, your clients make decisions to go ahead, but it feels 100%, and it is, a joint decision to move forward, which is the best thing for the client-advisor relationship. So do accept that advising is selling. It's selling courses of action and ideas that clients buy. And that's what we're all about at Paradox. So let's look in the profiling of an advisor. You need two things, and they're generally quite low in grinders: assertiveness and responsiveness. Now, in terms of assertiveness, on a scale of low assertiveness to high assertiveness, we're all somewhere there. On a scale. Now, people who are low in assertiveness tend to ask. They won't tell others what they should do. So they're fairly reactive. They love being given a list of things to do, a workflow management system that just lines up a bunch of tasks for them to do. Whether we're talking, professional or chargeable work or support or admin work, they just love being told what to do, and that's great. That's not to disparage anyone here. It's like a football team. There's players all around the park, and each have their strengths and weaknesses. But that's one of the big differences between low assertiveness, high assertiveness. People with high assertiveness are not afraid to make suggestions, to assert their opinion. If you're too high on assertiveness, though, you might come across as bossy or a know-it-all. So there's a balance. Now, responsiveness. Responsiveness, people who are high in that love people. People who are low in it love tasks. So here's an example. I actually overheard an intermediate to senior accountant after a team meeting in a firm that had the partner talking about the great things that they're going to do with clients. They were talking in the sort of the open plan cubicle area, and he said to a couple of other accountants, I bloody hate meeting with clients. I hate it when they call me. And I thought, And the firm did not at all have the winning mix that I'll explain today. Now, someone who's low in responsiveness sees an email from a client or a call or a drop-in from a client as an interruption. People who are high in responsiveness actually see that as their job. It's about the clients. It's not about just the tasks. So when you get that PDF, and later remember, email me at mc@practiceparadox.com.au and we'll send you this so you can plot it. Now, note in the top left corner of the screen at the moment, if you're on a mobile, go to practiceparadox.com.au/profile mobile, or if you're on a normal computer, you can go to just /profile. That'll go to a page where you enter your details, and then on the next page, for free, you can do a profile that's like DISC. It's like DISC minus the royalties. And it's a system called the Merrill Reed Social Style Profile that actually predates DISC. DISC just came along and applied a trademark and charged you $100, $150 for the privilege. So anyway, you can go in there and get a score across amiable, expressive, analytical, and driver. So a score out of 14. Now let's talk about the quadrants. First time I came across the model about grinding, minding, and finding, I thought that's brilliant. Those roles of grinding the technical work out, finding the work or the next engagements, and minding, looking after the client relationships. But I thought something's missing. There's a really important role in a firm of supporting all of the advisors. And whether that's in junior, intermediate, or senior, such as some of the most switched on operators I've ever met in accounting firms are general managers. So they're not charging out any time, but they're high level. Often they're actually qualified as accountants, not always. And that's what we call reminding role. Why do we call it that? Other than the fact it rhymes with the other ones, it's about routine and cadence. It's about the weekly billing, the monthly reporting, keeping everyone on track. And they're almost the glue, if you like, that holds a firm together. So all four of those roles, quite important. Now, we define the rainmaking zone as someone who has moderately high assertiveness and also responsiveness. So they're a cross between a minder, they love looking after client relationships, but they can also give advice, make suggestions to clients, and find new clients. Rainmaking Sometimes I forget that not everyone's familiar with that term. You gotta love the fact that selling is such a dirty word, four-letter word to sell, of course, that professional services had to make up another word for it. So business development, or rainmaking, from the American Indian analogy of dancing until it rains, and bringing prosperity to the firm. Now, grinders. To characterize a grinder, they focus on facts and logic. They will only act when the payoff is clear, and they're careful not to commit too quickly. That makes them poor advisors if you want to grow your client share, because they think, well, I'm not going to advise the client that they should do asset protection or a cash flow forecast or budgeting, because I'm not sure. That they'll come up with 16 reasons why it might not work rather than one really good reason why it might. And that's fine. That's just the way that they think. Very risk averse. Now, across the grid there, the expressives, when they meet with people, they create excitement and involvement. They love sharing their ideas, dreams, enthusiasm, and they motivate, inspire, and persuade people, or I would say influence people. And if you think of highly successful sole practitioners, or even partners within multi-partners, they're normally great at that. They inspire clients, they inspire prospective clients to join, and they inspire the team to follow. They're good people. But finding is different as well. Someone who loves finding, they're very focused on results. You know, don't tell me a story, show me the results. They like taking charge, they make quick decisions, and they love a good challenge. They would far prefer to be given a blank sheet of paper than a 27-point checklist. But diametrically opposed, across the grid there, the reminders, they're very steady. They love to cooperate, gain agreement with, make decisions by consensus, and they don't like rocking the boat. They like keeping everything ticking along, and crucial function, as we said. So everyone has an element of that. No one's in one box. So each of us has tendencies towards a couple of those, and some of us are all-rounders across all of them. Now, assertive behaviors. People who are more ask-directed, they speak deliberately, often pausing. So if someone's a fast talker, like I'm going today to get through all the content and the value I'm trying to deliver here, so I'm going fast, versus someone who speaks slowly, methodically, it gives you an idea of which end of the spectrum they might be on. They won't interrupt others. They speak in a monotone. They won't emphasize their voice with highs and lows. And they'll often say, oh, that depends, or maybe, and they'll lean back when they're thinking. Someone who's tell-directed speaks quickly, firmly. They don't mind coming over the top and interrupting. They've got an idea if they think it's a good thing to do in that context. They'll sort of make many statements about, if you do this, this will happen. And they tend to lean into conversations in meetings. Now, on the responsiveness, as opposed to assertiveness, on the task-directed people, I'll talk about facts and figures. They won't be talking with their hands here. I've married into an Italian family. I think I picked up the bug. But, they're pretty much a blank a blank slate in terms of reading them. So they don't show a lot of personal feelings. They're dancing on the inside, as George Smilovich said years ago. I'm showing my age there, 1980 song. But they use limited facial expressions. So I describe these people as, we talked before about human vending machines. These guys are human checklists. They're never going to sell. You give them a needs review checklist or some cross-selling checklist or piece of software, the client will feel interrogated. You may as well also give them a lamp to shine in the face of the client as they just bang, 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 go through and get the facts and not have a conversation, not listen for the emotion behind it. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, people who are high in responsiveness and love people will be broad and expansive in body gestures, be focusing on the relationship issues, and they're really expressive. Yeah? That's why they call them expressives. So quite different people, and there are degrees along that scale. So after today, if you haven't done it already, do your profile. There's a number of firms around the world who every time they're hiring a team member, and they even get their candidates to come through and fill out that what's your profile on our website. We see when they come through. So it's a resource available to you. You're free to use it. In the future, we do have on our roadmap to turn that into a piece of software and give you a highly detailed report. And then when we do that, we'll charge for it. But for now, it's free, and it allows you to plot your own profile, but also your whole team. In the Academy, we also give a spreadsheet that you can enter in the 4 numbers across amiable, expressive, driver, and analytical. And it actually, in Excel, color codes in shades from yellow to green the high and low numbers. It allows you to run your eye down and get a really good indication of whether you are grinder heavy or advisor rich. So here's some real examples here. This is a 7-person advisory firm. They had 6 accountants and 1 financial planner. So you can see that square there, where if I have a look there, that looks about 11 on amiable, they're about 9 on expressive, they're 10 on analytical, and 5 on driver. So these are the sort of people, by and large, that would do a very good job on the analytical, great at caring for clients, good and reliable and consistent, but unlikely to make suggestions to clients. And guess what? That's exactly what we found. Very low client share in this firm. So before I talked about targeted recruiting. So you want to have a balance here. You want a square, not like that's almost kite-shaped. So through a process that we guided them on and doing role plays and competency testing around how well would this person deal with clients in meeting situations, they recruited a new accountant, and overlaying there, that's that person's profile. High on driver, still high on analytical, still fairly high on expressive, but that's actually a profile of a future partner in our experience. So it loves advising clients and actually feels really passionately about our message around client share. So the right values, if you truly want to be proactive and not just talk about it. So that helped them create the winning mix. Now, if you don't create the winning mix, I don't really care what training, what software you have. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You won't get the results, and you won't deliver the sort of client experience that clients these days want. The accounting profession, through its inaction and lack of advice, has spawned a number of different professions. You know, everything from business coaching through to aspects that the financial planning industry does, because people want advice. They don't want vending machines. They want you to think ahead and not just, you know, in any of the football codes, the good players don't run to where the ball is, do they? They run to where the ball's going. And that's sort of an analogy for what you need to do with your clients' lives. And that takes thought, planning, systems, but it takes the right team. So here's the median out of the data for a director, partner, principal, owner. So someone who's an equity holder. So you can see they're quite an all-rounder there, but the driver is not that high. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. And that actually shows and supports other data that we've seen in benchmarking studies. We call this the value add chasm. The most recent study I saw, the fact that these numbers up, was Richard Francis from Spotlight Reporting. Any of you who use Xero will know of and potentially use Spotlight Reporting, great tool. And 9 out of 10, roughly, 9 out of 10 accountants state they want to do more value add, non-compliant services with clients. So that's intention. 1 out of 10 states that they do a high proportion of that with their clients. So 9 want to and 1 do. A massive gulf between intention and results. And the fact that firms don't have the winning mix strikes really at the core of why that is the case. Let's look at some other examples. Here's an actual example of an equity holder. This equity holder would be basically a good, reliable grinder, and they're likely to have a low client share firm. Another example there, that's a comparison of that actual example with the median there. Here's another example here. Here's someone who's highly expressive and high driver. They would be quite animated and enthusiastic about making suggestions in a meeting, but their own attention to detail themselves is probably quite low. Now, over the decades, your profile can shift, so I recommend you do it each year. And this is fine as a profile, but if this was a one-man band, or one-person band, they'd probably be in trouble because they might not be dotting their I's and crossing their T's on the technical work. So there's some overlays there of the median and those actual examples, 1 and 2 for equity holders. So here's median for a senior or intermediate producer. Again, it reflects a lot of that firm before, that 7-advisor firm. Pretty low on the assertiveness, but will probably do a reasonable job on everything else. So probably very little advice. They would be friendly vending machines. Another example here is they're even low on the expressive and the driver. Human checklist. So there's a comparison there of the median and the actual example. Now have a look at this. This is an actual example of a senior to intermediate producer or processor, someone who's doing chargeable work. And this person would be, you know, could run their own business and then build a team around the fact that in cricket parlance, but don't talk about the cricket score at the moment, they can bat, bowl, field and wicket keep. You know, they've got the ability to be flexible across their communication style, which is a great thing. So then, as this person builds their business, they just need to make sure that they're balancing the mix to retain that winning mix. So here's the median around accounting, admin, support. So again, lower on the assertiveness. Here's an actual example. This person would have good attention to detail and be good at following instructions, but probably not that great with clients and show very little initiative. If you're frustrated by being surrounded by people showing no initiative, we hear that complaint a lot from business owners, look at your recruiting strategy. If you hire people with low assertiveness, you get what you hire. There's a comparison of that person with the median there. So they've hired someone really who's well over on the amiable and analytical side. So the good thing here is you can stop beating your head against the wall. Another quick example that's not in the slides. One of the firms that uses this profiling tool all the time, based out of Sydney, Cartwright Brown, very successful firm on both financial planning and accounting. They were really frustrated when they first started working with us because no one was selling or advising or making any suggestions. When we profiled their accounting team, there were only 2 people in their team that really was cut from the cloth required to be good in front of clients and make suggestions. So that was George, a partner, and one other team member. Now, it may have changed since, but as far as George was concerned, he could stop trying to make elephants dance. You probably heard that one. Don't do it. You know, you try to make elephants dance, it annoys the elephant, wastes your time. Don't bother. So that leads to the need in any firm, even if you're small, you know, if you're at the embryonic stage of building your business, is to offer multiple career paths. At least 2 ladders have got to be up against the wall in your firm. Now, you know, big 4 firms, second-tier firms are very good at this. Smaller and medium-sized firms generally lack it. They've got 1 ladder up against the wall. Now, the 1 ladder is where they expect team members to follow in their footsteps. You know, the school of hard knocks, to be really good at technical work, and then to get really good at you know, looking after clients, then to get really good at finding new clients and upselling and cross-selling. Those people are difficult to find. They are. You know, how many true all-rounders are there in the Australian cricket team at the moment? Maybe let's again not go there. So what you need to have is a technical career path and a client or advisory focused career path. And these people work hand in hand together. So some people could be technical advisors, and they're not going to be hidden out the back, so to speak, unless they're extremely grinder heavy in their profile. They can still meet with clients, but never on their own in an advisory capacity. They would have someone who's on your advisory career track, managing the relationship and monitoring client share and making sure the client always has the next step worked out in, you know, a caring and you know, coming from the right place, that moral obligation that we talked about before. Quick example on that. I presented at the Institute of Chartered Accountants Business Forum a few years ago now. This example was from down in Adelaide. And after we ran through this and talked about, you know, stop teaching elephants to dance, he came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, look, we've got this aspiring partner in the moment, and it's been a real issue, very stressful. You know, there are KPIs out there that she's got to go out and she's got to do some rainmaking. She's got to find new clients. She's got to do that. And she just doesn't want to. And I said, so what do you think now after what we've run through today? He said, you know, I think we're trying to make it go on 1 ladder. I think we need 2 ladders. I said, I think you're right. I said, what are you going to do now? He said, I'm going to go back and have a conversation with her. And if we can design her key performance indicators on activities and results, you know, I'll put that to her. I said, will she be a valuable team member to the firm as a technical advisor? He said, absolutely. We'd hate to lose her. I said, well, there's a conversation to be had. He actually called me later that afternoon. He said it was a great conversation. There was just relief all around. There were actual slight shedding of tears and a hug. Totally out of place, I know. But there's clarity and intelligence in building your team. So how do you attract more minders and finders if you are grinder and reminder heavy at the moment? You know, before we said you've got to be a firm that's going to attract the expressives and finders. Let me show you how not to attract them. Here's an ad out of a career guide that one of the professional associations put out. Now, blurred identifying information, but let me just read through it. Let's call them XYZ and Associates. XYZ and Associates, Proprietary Limited, of course, has a long-standing reputation for delivering service excellence and assisting clients in achieving their business and financial goals. We believe in developing an honest and supportive relationship with all our clients, Oh, thank goodness they're going to be honest. In order to truly understand their business, accounting, and taxation needs. Our desire is to develop and maintain a productive client relationship. Oh, that's a relief. That delivers a premium level of reliable, oh, blah, blah, blah. Would anyone ever say that out of their mouth? They wouldn't. The person would just turn and walk away. Now, because we teach people and accountants and advisors how to communicate value, we teach that in verbal presentations, face-to-face webinar, and also in writing. One of the principles we teach, so I'm actually a trained copywriter, have managed marketing copywriting divisions in national firms, is you do need to write how you speak, because when someone reads, they're actually having an internal dialogue. It's like there's a voice talking to them, and that's frankly is quite poor. So let's have a look here at a count between the number of times this ad to attract graduates mentions the firm 14 times, and how many times does it mention the reader? 0. Less than ideal. So let me show you an example that went through one of our copywriters at Paradox. When you work with us, some of you may have seen a YouTube video where Drew Grosskruch of OTM Groups talks about our virtual marketing assistant service. Each week he sends us an article that he writes in rough form that goes through 3 levels of quality assurance by the Paradox team. He sends it to assistant@practiceparadox.com.au, and his virtual marketing assistant does the initial check of errors. Then it goes to a copywriter who looks at it from an editorial journalistic perspective, and then it comes to a director in Paradox who looks at it from a strategic perspective. And that way, each week they're putting great content up on their blog and into social media. So this went through a similar process. So here's a firm Change where we've worked with Change since their inception, came up with their name, designed their logo, designed their website, helped them with a lot of their marketing content. And actually, let me just go back and start to read part of this. You want to be part of something special. You're not just after a career, you're after a chance to make a difference in people's lives. You want to be part of a young and vibrant team of accountants and financial planners who do far more for clients than just do their tax. Accounting is an exciting profession, and as a graduate, you have a skill set that allows you to help clients significantly with their financial future. However, the vast majority of accounting firms focus mainly on compliance work with their clients. And as we all know, by the way, that's all about reporting on history. We're more about helping our clients create history. Our focus is on helping our clients achieve a more secure and prosperous financial life. Bang. So it goes on, really speaks to them, and that reflects the values of the owner, the principal of the firm, Timothy Munro. So I won't read through the whole thing, but it gives insights into the culture of the firm. It talks about Friday drinks, bake or buys, and you get a sense that that might be a fun place to work, and they have a great culture there. So if we then analyse that, for how many times did that mention you versus us, it's far more balanced. At the outset, you can see it mentioned the reader, you, 6 times before it talked about the firm, and then it blended both of them. That's an example of good copywriting. So that's a quick tip. All right, now I just want to talk to you about working models, and we can all relax. I know everyone gets tired of consultants and advisors beating up on the accounting profession. I try never to do that because, you know, compliance is dead and all that sort of stuff. Compliance is not dead. Compliance isn't going to go away. Compliance just keeps changing, and it's a beautiful foundation for a great business. And I think accountants are one of the most important roles within society because of their opportunity around the moral obligation. But in terms of having a working model, years ago, astronomy was described as the study of the movement of the planets around Earth. So that was the definition of the field. I'll say that again, the study of the movement of the planets around Earth. And the word planet actually comes from a Greek root, which means to wander. Before, you know, people like Aristotle theorized that, hang on, those planets, moon, and things that we can see are not gods wandering around planets. They're actually predictable, and they're moving in paths. So he theorized about that in 340 AD. And, you know, for many that was considered, you know, heresy. But the Earth was still, up until these smart philosophers and mathematicians came along, the Earth was still at the center of the universe. And then later on, mathematicians like Copernicus and then Galileo, with the use of innovations such as the telescope, actually observed, so had a mathematical theorem and also observed what was going on and said, well, hang about, actually, all the planets, including Earth, are actually revolving around the sun. The Earth isn't at the center. Now, there's some heresy, and Copernicus didn't want to publish his book on that until right on his deathbed, because you get burnt at the stake back in those days for saying that the Earth, God's creation, wasn't at the middle. So what would happen? What were the results of not having a working model around the calendar? Every 100 years or so, it would snow in the middle of summer in Rome. And the Pope would go, all right, everyone. Oh, sorry, the Emperor would go, hang on, everyone. Calendar's out again. We just need to wind the calendar back 6 months and we'll all be good. Pretty important thing to have right, the seasons, when you think about agriculture, growing crops, predicting the way the world works. Quite chaotic, not having a working model, I think you'd agree, until they shifted. Here's how I think that relates to the accounting profession. The very definition of what the accounting profession is, how it describes itself, is preventing it from finding an effective model for truly making a difference. You and your team are not about crunching numbers. That is an element of it. But if you want to be true advisors, you are leaders of people, and you need to have people in your team who tick the boxes around moderate to high responsiveness, moderate to high assertiveness, to have the minders and the finders, but overall have a mix on your team. It's the only way you'll become a true advisor. Now we'll go into questions. I'll just get the any questions you've got, flick them through. Let's have a look on the time front. Now before we get to questions, just type through any questions that you might have. I'll just give you a quick explanation of what Paradox is all about, because you might be thinking, well, this is a bit of an HR related topic, MC. Why are you talking about this when you guys are all about marketing and selling? Well, to emphasize with you, you've got to have a great team to deliver the message. And with what we do at Paradox with accounting firms, we build marketing machines. We can teach you how to do it, and we can also build aspects of it for you. And we call it marketing machines to demystify that creative mystique that advertising agencies and other consultants like you to believe, so that you have to hire someone with these gifts. As far as we're concerned, marketing is measurable, it's pragmatic, it actually has far more in common with accounting than what many people would recognize. If you want to grow your fees, let's just talk about that objective. If you want to grow your fees, logically there are only three options, aren't there? You can increase your prices. That's a quick and simple way, but you can't do that every month, can you? Then you can attract more clients, or you can sell more services to existing clients, or you can do a combination of all of those. They're all valid strategies depending on the context. Now, with what we do at Paradox, we focus on 2 and 3, helping you get more clients, so growing your market share, and helping you sell more services to those that you deal with, so growing your client share. And they take skills, and those 2 skill sets are marketing and selling. You need both. No point being great at marketing if you can't sell, if you can't actually get the engagements happening. Because marketing will bring the horse to water, selling will see the horse drink. Now, as far as we're concerned, we are the only accounting industry specialists in marketing and selling. If you need to get your house in order around basic management principles, we will actually refer you on to a coach or consultant who has a broader focus, because you need to be ready to grow your business, because we will amplify whatever your business is. So you need to be ready and have the basics in place. We're also the first advisors on the planet to teach accountants and advisors about social media. A lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon, particularly in the last, say, 18 months. We were doing it 3 years ago. And thanks to Google, that's a verifiable fact. When we ran our first masterclass, we were teaching live in the room, laptops out, live internet connection. Let's set up Twitter accounts. Let's start tweeting. Let's talk about the strategy behind social media use. And the current Xero Partner of the Year, GrowthWise, out of Newcastle, they learnt marketing by going through our academy. Now, just to emphasize, we are not generalists, we are specialists in the marketing and selling, which means we practice what we preach about going inch wide, mile deep in what you do. No point dabbling in a whole range of different areas. So the question then is, how should accountants do modern marketing? Modern marketing is content driven. Okay, so what does that mean? It's blog articles, e-newsletters, social media, video, and a range of other things that we teach you how to do. To give you some specific examples of what we mean by marketing content, it means things like this: articles, social media, blogs, e-newsletters, case studies. events, videos, white papers, webinars and webcasts, microsites, which are having a specific separate website targeting one of your vertical markets. One of the graduates of the Academy, Kirsten Hawke, out of New Zealand, in February got on board 22 new clients by applying what she learned in Your Radar, which Module 1, as I mentioned earlier, and also what we taught in Module 3, which is Your Fuel. Your content is your fuel for your marketing machine, and also Module 4, which is called Your Engine, which is how to very time efficiently get content out there. So through social media, email marketing, and all of the different channels, most of which are free. So 22 new clients in February, and she told me, and I loved hearing this because that's the point of technology, is to make you more productive. They now do more marketing in a week than they used to do every quarter, and with less effort. So that's leverage, more results, less effort, and faster. So if you're not a content-driven marketer, you are in trouble. You need to think, who's driving your content? And the reason that is so important with modern marketing is if you don't consistently publish good quality content out there on your website and into all the different other social media accounts back to your site, you pretty much don't exist in the online digital world. Publish or perish. Academics, professors say that. You need to keep publishing papers, get them in peer-reviewed journals, or you're pretty much not on the landscape or the radar whatsoever. Same with marketing. So if you think about how can I get good at marketing, and marketing's a core competence for any business, though only very progressive firms treat it as such. You've only got 3 choices. Again, this is logic. I'm not making any of this up. There's 3 choices. You can either learn how to do it yourself. So DIY is option number 1. Or if you are absolutely time poor and you can't even spare an hour a week to go through the academy, you can do done-for-you services. So that's where it's easy for you to write a check, or just have a small credit card transaction go through each month, and then we put articles out there for you and help you with the social media, help you with your Google ranking on your website. Well then, DFY, done for you, is probably the way to go. But what we do know is firms that get the best results, not always, but usually tend to do a combination of both. So if you'd like information about that, drop me an email around either. We have a PDF I can send you about the Academy, a link to that, and I have a PDF about the automatic marketing services, which is our name, our brand, sub-brand for the done-for-you services. Or if you want both, let us know. And you'll find out what we do and how we transform businesses like OTM Group, that YouTube video. When they started working with us, they said, look, if we're going to pay this money, we want to double our revenue in 12 months' time. And I looked at where they were, I said, yeah, that's pretty achievable. And we've done it in 5 months. So they're now raising the bar and resetting their sites. Drop me an email again, M for Michael, C for Card, at practiceparadox.com.au if you want the worksheet from today, so you can plot your team on those crosshairs around amiable, expressive, driver, analytical. And if you want information about what we'll actually do to change the way your firm operates and how you can communicate value. So thanks for joining us today around this. My sincere hope for you is that you have some insights about how to know thyself for starters, gauge where you are, and then how to do targeted recruiting, and then train the team members who are on the advisory ladder in your firm, and give them the soft skills they need to grow your client share. Look forward to seeing you at the next webinar, and we'll say bye for now.